What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium. That's Chucky. He fell over. He is back. Thank you for rejoining us, Chucky. I am here, of course, to talk about another movie, and this is the new movie, No One Will Save You, on Hulu. This little ditty, damn, came out of nowhere on me. Of course, real quick, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good shit, unless, you don't want to. Yeah, that's a thing too, where you're like, I don't even like you, bro. What is the deal? I might comment fuck you or something like that. Now probably someone will as a joke. All fucking welcome here though. But this movie, damn, did not know much about this one at all. Kind of took me by surprise. And watching this movie, surprise it did. Because this, I don't know if it's just, a little under the radar, when you're like are hyped for a movie and it ends up just being good, you end up just, you're almost disappointed by it. You wanted to hit those peak levels. But when you get a movie like this that like at least comes damn near to that and you're like, I didn't really expect much from this fucking movie. I just heard about it like a week ago. I'm like, home invasion with an extraterrestrial spin. I'm fucking in there. And in there I was, and it really, really hit, guys. Like, there's only like one actress basically in this movie that's got to carry the entire fucking flick. And it's definitely got some A Quiet Place vibes down to the PG-13 rating. One of the best PG-13 horror movies I've ever seen. I'll go ahead and spoil that. Not to say it's like, oh my God, it must be one of the best horror movies ever. There's not a lot of good PG-13 horror movies. This is definitely one of them. Check that out. Do not be afraid of that rating because they do this one damn well. Down to creature design in moments. I'm going to say moments because that's key. It does not look like the Quiet Place monster, but there may or may not be a moment within the scene where a monster gave me Quiet Place vibes. You might know what I'm talking about once you watch it. And then, of course, just it's pretty quiet. It didn't have to be, but the lead actress, there's a creative decision to not give her much dialogue, if any dialogue at all. It was very minimal. And when it did happen, it made it very impactful amongst the the little side plot, the subplot that's going on, because there is something going on with her where it isn't given away right away, but there's some emotional baggage going on with her lead character. And without saying next to anything other than that little spurt where she does, where again it fucking nails home, because you're like, oh, when she does fucking talk, it hits home with the point and the other message that we got going on with the film. It was just a great creative decision, because also this girl, she's carrying the fucking movie, and everything is so quiet. It's almost like we're just watching her. Like, I mean, do you have conversations with yourself? I'm technically kind of doing it right now, and in a weird way, but I'm not over there just like, Brandon, you doing good? Yes, Brandon. Yeah, I'm doing great. I might say something out loud, like a disbelief moment or something like that, talking to myself in that way. But overall, unless you're a fucking psycho, there's not really a lot to say to yourself. You got to keep that on the inside. Like, who am I talking? I'm just going to bounce off the wall. It's going to come back to me, and then I'm going to start talking again. There was no reason for her to talk, and there's no reason to force that dialogue. So the creative decision to keep that a little more grounded in reality, I feel like some filmmakers feel the need to force that, even though the person's alone. Give them like even like a crazy background. Say it's like a person in the woods or stranded out there. They'll make them fucking insane, or they make them like Tom Hanks where he's talking to Wilson. They try to, it's like, we got to keep it interesting. He's got to talk right. She's got to talk right. No, she don't. And I tell you what, not only does that pay off in like a more of a realism standpoint, but when the shit goes down for the first time, I think it is the furthest thing from a detriment to this movie, because it makes the shit go down that much better, dude. Because when you're watching this movie and it's just been so quiet, and it's been very limited in just sound in general, other than just like normal sounds that you hear outside, or maybe there's a creak on a doorway or the floorboard when she's walking by. When you first have that intruder come in, and these aliens have these sound effects that they make, because this is the biggest thing I can give to this movie. The sound design is amazing, and going from the nothingness to just hearing these loud bangs and booms and the sounds that these aliens make, it only brings it out more, and the movie is all the better for it. As far as the aliens go, I gotta tell you, not a whole lot in the form of creativity here, but the way they keep them kind of in the shadows and the way it is filmed is so masterfully done to, like, you know, kind of like bring the camera over here when you kind of want it over here to have more comfort as a viewer, but you also don't want that because, you know, as a horror fan or any type of horror nerd or thriller movie fan, you want that like scary shit. They fucking bring the camera and utilize it in such a way to where it overshadows and masks that look. And it's also kind of cool having the more basic alien look in a horror movie. I can't really think of many horror movies that have done it. Like, you know, there's been alien movies where it's like, oh, that's your stereotypical alien. But as far as like aliens that seem like they're just downright fierce and can fuck you up, they've always kind of gravitated and put their own spin on it, which I'm normally a bigger fan of. But again, the way it's utilized in this movie, they make it creepy. And in the end, the way they're able to pull that off, it almost makes it feel more realistic because this is the prototypical, stereotypical version of alien you have in your head. Whereas like the Quiet Place aliens, you're just like, oh, that's a cool spin for a movie. When you're watching this, there's something about it you're like, that looks like an alien. Yeah, sure, it's not an actual alien. We haven't seen an alien, but what we think of as an alien, what's been beaten into our skull, that, you know, the big heads, little skinny bodies, seeing that play out in a movie where it feels realistic makes the movie feel more realistic and makes the aliens feel more realistic because, again, how they fucking captured it and made it happen. A lot of times this comes off as hokey, a lot of times like, oh, stereotypical alien. This movie makes that work for some reason. And when you watch it, I think you'll really understand with the way they place the camera, the way they build tension, and of course, that fucking sound design. I'm upset that this movie was not in theaters because I think it would have done really well. It would have been very creepy. All the bumps in the night would have hit a lot harder if I would have seen this at the theater, and I probably would have gave it an even higher score. All the shit that plays out with the emotional baggage of our lead, that does come full circle by the end, as I kind of alluded to. And I think it's well done. It's always nice to have a little subplot. It gives the movie a little more heft, gives the movie a little bit more weight. It makes you care about the character, gives you something to hold on to other than the violence. Where sometimes it's fun to be bare bones, and this movie is bare bones for the most part, which is enjoyable. I don't need all these extra fucking little things, every little nook and cranny, like, oh, let's do this here. Don't make it convoluted. Bare bones is great sometimes, but having just that other little subplot that's slowly revealed, just like, well, what happened with her and her friend? Because that is ultimately what is going on in this movie. She's deeply apologetic for a best friend from her childhood, her adulthood, whatever it is, and you're trying to see what that unravels into and if it ties into the story by the end of the film. Overall, this movie, man, it's just a great exercise, I think, in building tension. Again, the sound design and the camera, knowing how to build that tension, knowing when to rest on certain shots, knowing when to pull away with certain shots, knowing when to play with the audience's expectations to kind of lull you to sleep for when they actually hit you with that boom pop out moment. This movie, very well done, has a very realistic feel for a fucked up little alien abduction, possibly fucking home invasion flick. This is how it's done, people. This movie, I think, should have came out in theaters. I had a lot of fun with this, and if you have Hulu, I urge you to go see it. Check it out. Not that hard. You know, use somebody else's streaming device. Yeah, No One Will Save You. A little bit of another sleeper we might have on our hands. This one was pretty fucking dope, guys. I gotta give this one an 8.6 out of 10. I mean, I've been seeing some bangers lately that I had no idea were going to be anywhere near my top 10 or in my top 10 on the year. It's been exciting watching all these movies that have seemingly like just flying saucered around my head out of nowhere. It's like, what the, hold on, what's this? Let me just pop that in. Oh my God, that's dope too. That has basically been my life lately. I've just been stumbling into all these movies that I, for all intents and purposes, did not know shit about. This is another one of them. Check it out. If you haven't heard of it, you've heard of it now. Go see this movie. And you can see it at home. Damn. Love you guys. Peace. Let me know what you thought of it if you watched it. Was it garbage? Am I crazy? Or were you like, damn, it's actually pretty refreshing? Love you guys. Peace.